When the average person hears the name Godzilla, the first image that likely springs to mind is funky rubber suits and cheap-looking cardboard sets. Fortunately, the giant monster or kaiju genre has come a long way since those early days. Thanks to huge advances in special effects, giant monster movie fans have been treated to a number of visually stunning features in recent years. Despite the vast visual improvements, one important element which often seemed to be lacking was the story. Well, Japan appears to have corrected that trend with the release of Godzilla Minus One. The movie centers around Shikishima, a surviving kamikaze pilot during the final days of World War II. He's burdened by the disgrace for having failed to carry out his mission. As the movie begins, the young pilot is making an emergency landing on the small island of Udu. Later that evening, a giant monster, dubbed Godzilla by the locals, appears and begins terrorizing the inhabitants. During the attack, a small group of mechanics perish due to Shikishima's inability to take action. This, of course, only adds to the young soldier's shame. Shikishima eventually returns home to mainland Japan, only to find his hometown in ruins and his parents deceased. He ends up crossing paths with a homeless woman and a baby and reluctantly begins caring for the two. When Godzilla unexpectedly reappears, having grown more powerful due to radiation exposure, Shikishima is presented with an opportunity for redemption. I went into Godzilla Minus One not knowing much about the film, other than it had been receiving high praise. What I expected was a more traditional take on the popular movie franchise. Essentially another mindless giant monster extravaganza with a small human subplot thrown in for good measure. This, however, was not the case. What I experienced was a heartfelt post-war story about a young man struggling to deal with the shame of his survival amidst the threat of Japan's complete destruction by Godzilla. This is a beautifully written film wherein writer-director Takashi Yamazaki expertly wove in the crucial human element, allowing the audience to feel invested in the outcome. Often with these disaster movies, there is a disconnect between the audience and the destruction taking place. In this movie, you feel the magnitude of the devastation and the loss of life. Each of the actors gave an outstanding performance in their roles, particularly Ryunosuke Kamaki as pilot Koichi Shikishima and Minami Hamabe as Norika Oishi, the baby's guardian and Shikishima's love interest. The visual effects in Godzilla Minus One are quite impressive, especially considering the movie's relatively small $15 million budget. This is yet another example of a low-budget film outshining this year's big Hollywood blockbusters. Everything about this version of post-World War II war-torn Japan just feels so gritty and authentic. You really get a sense of the toll the war took on the people, and the times where Godzilla makes an appearance are especially impressive. The effects artist did a magnificent job of seamlessly blending the monster into the surrounding environments. Another aspect of the movie that I really appreciated was the inclusion of not only classic Godzilla's roar, but also the nod to his original theme song. It was a nice touch, and it paid tribute to the original film, while also helping to give the new movie an old-school vibe. It's obvious that director Takashi Yamazaki has a great respect for Godzilla's legacy. Godzilla Minus One is more than just a great monster flick. It is a great movie overall. This is one of the better films that I've seen in a rather long time. Hollywood should take note. Godzilla Minus One demonstrates what is possible when you focus on story over spectacle. Thank you so much for watching.